Whenever you're ready.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Clausen Board of Ethics. It's Monday, February 27th at 7:01 p.m. I look out and actually see we actually have people here tonight. It's usually just us here alone when we meet. So that's very exciting at least from our perspective. At this time, I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody could stand.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if we could have roll call.
Commissioner Fenton.
Here.
Commissioner McCullough. Here. Commissioner McGinnis.
Here.
Commissioner Nishai.
Here.
Commissioner Traxel.
Here.
That's everyone, sir.
Okay. At this time, we're going to open up the floor to public comment. And this will be the first time I think we've had public comment as well, I think, in any of our meetings.
Now we had one that had.
Did we have one?
Yeah.
All right. So if everybody could come up
How could you
and just
forget?
remember, we are the Board of Ethics. We ask everyone to be courteous and respectful in
Indeed.
any of their comments.
Susan Moffett, in case you want to know who I am. I was originally opposed to the Ethics Board for fear that it would be used solely as a vehicle for political theatrics, that it would become nothing more than a kangaroo court. Given the past decisions and the present matter, it sadly appears that I was correct. To be clear, as is stated on the city's website, the objective of the Board of Ethics is to issue written opinions regarding ethical, not legal questions, and to engage in activities that will promote ethical behavior. The matter that appears before the board should be conducted in that spirit alone. I have a unique perspective on how this alleged violation fits into the fabric of council behavior. I would have guessed that if a legitimate concern of conduct was held, a hand would have been raised on July 26, 2021, when Shepard and Georges were appointed to the council without even me, as a sitting council member, being made aware of their application. Of course, their family was aware. They came to the meeting to watch them be sworn in. Or a hand would have been raised when Councilman Georges spoke from the dais about his personal opinion about ballot measures on the November 2021 election. Or at the very least, when the debacle of the November 21st meeting took place. So strange that those egregious actions didn't cause a complaint to be filed. The issue of law outlined in this complaint are not for the board to issue an opinion on whether they were violated or not. The only issue is, did the mayor act with a disregard for the public interest and in an unethical manner? There's not a path to take to come to a conclusion that she did. Everything that happened in the meeting on January 18th, 2023 was for one of the first times in a long time that the council as a whole and individually acted in the public interest and consistent with their wishes. Any statement to the contrary is performative, political, and an insult to the good citizens of Clausen.
Thank you.
My name is Nate Hara. I echo much of what Ms. Moffett said, in fact, all of it. I am concerned, when you did roll call, I believe there's a member among you that their appointment to this board has expired, so I'm curious if you could expound on that perhaps, so that we would understand why he is there. I didn't see any substantive effort to announce this hearing to the public. I think it's only brought to my attention because someone alerted me to the presence of the agenda on the website. I think that's not in the spirit of full disclosure and transparency with the public, and might be something that could be improved upon. Last council, I spoke in great concern and just an open heart to address the real problem in Clausen right now, and that's we don't trust our government. There's been so much trauma and so much viciousness that has cost the public enthusiasm and trust. And as Ms. Moffett said, even this very board's intentions when it was founded a few years ago was in grave doubt, which is terrible for a board called the Ethics Board, with such wonderful intentions to be a stopgap for the things that slip through the letter of the law. When the events of the election in 2021 unfolded, I think it was quite clear to anybody paying attention that that was a very good example of violating the Open Meeting Act, of violating Robert's rule for an agenda. I had so little confidence in this board that I didn't even bother, and nor did anyone else, because unfortunately it lacked that much credit at the time. Today is a different story. I think you guys have an opportunity to show the public that it is a trustworthy board. It is a bipartisan board, and it is, in fact, not a political board. It's just a matter of ethics here. And what is on your table right now is quite clear to me. I was at the meeting, the city council meeting, where Mr. Tinlin attended and was widely supported by the citizens of Clawson. He had quite an attendance there. It was fully disclosed that the vacancy on the seat was going to be discussed and addressed. Nobody wanted the seat at that point to remain vacant. And I think that the council, motioned by two council members, by the way, none of which were the mayor in question now, they made an earnest effort to do exactly what the public wanted. And I cannot think of a better example of the public interest being served, objective judgment being delivered, true accountability to the charter and to the promises made by the council members and by the mayor to promote a true democratic leadership in our council. I think Paula was very respectful in all that happened on that day, and I stand in great support with her. I just want to say I'm sorry to even be standing here, because I don't really want to get involved in these kind of things. It's not what I want. But my goal and my vision is to help support Clawson to be what it has always been in the past, a very well-regarded small city with a very big heart. And I ask, please, help make that happen with your choices today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Doug Becerra, 239 North Main. You probably know me from the Planning Commission. Echo what Mr. Howard was saying. I wish our city attorney, Rennis, was here tonight. Are you an attorney?
I am.
You are. Okay. And then maybe you can answer the question then. Why do we have a person sitting up there whose term has expired? He is not renewed. From my position, he doesn't belong in that seat right now. Can you explain that to me? He was up for renewal at the last city council meeting, and he was not renewed. He will not be renewed to this commission for another 2 weeks, probably. So you have a member of the audience basically sitting up there, and if you let him vote, I find you guys having ethical problems. And apparently you can't answer the question. I'm glad we're paying for a good city attorney. Thank you.
Karen Knutson, 1313 North Bywood. I'm not sure if it's can't answer the question or won't answer the question, because there is indeed an answer, and what we're being put through, why we couldn't just settle it down after the last meeting when the mediation came out. Why does this one issue have to keep costing us money and time? It's been decided. The mayor did nothing wrong. This is a bunch of nonsense, and it really should be stopped in its tracks before other people get political ideas.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Tim Quinn. I reside at 656 Selfridge Boulevard. I don't really have any prepared remarks. I only found out about this recently online. I read some things that were put on the website. The complainant who filed a complaint ethics violation against the mayor, who I support 100%. I think her heart's in the right place. She has the best interests of this community at heart. She's walking a tightrope all the time, trying to keep things cohesive. I've never seen her to be unethical in anything she does. If anything, she goes over and above, trying to include everyone, people in the audience. I'm not sure why there was an ethics violation filed against her. From my perspective, if she did something wrong or there was a vote taken that shouldn't have been taken, I would have thought that the city attorney or the city manager would have had her back or the council's back and stepped in and said, hey, we can't do that right now. I mean, that's what I thought we're paying the city attorney for, right? And he's getting paid probably pretty well. I've got nothing against the city attorney. I'm just saying, isn't it his job to guide the council and the mayor? These people are not, attorneys. They don't know the rules of law, where he might, and that's why he's in that position. So I was a little perplexed when I found that Mayor Milan's being brought in front of this board, commission, charged with an ethics violation. Now, I did read, and it was the gentleman who made the complaint said that the public was never given a chance to voice their opinions on this matter. Well, I was at the meeting. I voiced my support for Scott Dillon. So there were people that had an opportunity to voice their. So I'm not quite sure why we're here tonight. I mean, I think as a citizen, I get very concerned when I see that we keep going down that sewer because of grudges or whatever. I want to see the city move forward. And I think we've got a great council right now who are looking for the best interests of this community. So I'm here to support Paula, whatever she, I don't think she deserves to be put through this, for one. I'm not sure where the gentleman's coming from. I hope he will talk and voice his reasoning behind it. Maybe he has a good reason for it, but I'm not sure where he's coming from in this complaint. I don't think it's warranted. So I think we have an attorney who should have had our mayor's back and everyone else's back for that matter. So there's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I don't know the process. Do I need to speak now, or will I get an opportunity to speak through your process?
You get an opportunity to speak through our process.
So I don't need to speak now?
That's correct. Okay, if there's no other comments, then we are going to move on to new business, which is a review of the ethics complaint filed against Paula Milan by Matthew Bikowski. Before we do that, though, there are a couple points I'd like to kind of address and kind of raise. First of all, because again, we rarely get the opportunity to actually talk to people because it's usually just us up here, and we've had our meetings and we kind of do that. So the purpose of our board is to look at ethical complaints that are filed. We do not bring complaints ourselves. That is not our job. That is not our duty. So if we see something that's unethical, or if we view things ourselves, that's separate and distinct from any of our responsibilities on the board. Whether or not any individual member has addressed something or has done something differently, that's, again, it falls separate from the board. Anybody can bring a complaint. You see the reasons for why a complaint can be brought. Anybody can bring a complaint if they believe that they have grounds for a complaint. That does not mean in any situation that we will find an ethics violation. It doesn't mean that we won't find an ethics violation. We look at the facts and circumstances, and so far I think we've only had one complaint brought before this board in its entire tenure. And if anybody goes back and watches any of that, if you weren't there, you'll see that we painfully took a lot of deliberation on it, and we painfully went through the charter, and we painfully went through the plain language of what we have the authority to do and not do. And I think if you watch that, you'll see that as a board, we separated out any personal feelings or any type of personal beliefs. And I think I'm proud of how we handled that situation in the sense of whether or not people were pleased with an outcome. It's not our job on this board to come up with an outcome either way that people are pleased with or not pleased with. We will take everything very seriously and go through it in that sense. So it's just as a general overview of our board. And I only say that because when I hear comments like that there's a lack of legitimacy to this board to begin with, or called a kangaroo court, or challenge that, why we even exist, or anything like that. There's a basis for it, and the basis is that in council, we're trying to look for more transparency all around. Now, when it comes to posting for the meetings are posted online in the regular course. However, Mr. Hare, I completely take your point to note, and I have no issue with the fact that if people need more time, I'm telling you, we take a lot of time. And so that's the first, just kind of as a general thing. Now, as a secondary matter, I've got kind of three things I'd like to bring up first before we even kind of get into anything, if that's all right with everybody. The first is that, and I'll ask kind of city attorney sitting in, and I don't want, while I know you can give me an answer, I'm not asking for an off-the-cuff response right now, but one thing is, as everybody knows, I represented the city in the George's lawsuit. Now, this complaint comes from events afterwards. However, it still kind of flows through certain connective tissue, and I want to make sure that there's no conflict of interest from my end. And that's something I take very, very seriously as an attorney. And so I've looked at it myself. I don't see a conflict, but I would like some type of opinion from the city attorney as to whether or not there's a need for me to recuse myself from this matter. And so I would ask kind of on that note. It's just something that I kind of wrestled with a little bit, and again, in making sure that everything is done properly. I want to make sure that it's done properly. The next thing is, as raised tonight, it's not lost on me. I do, whether I'm actually at council meetings, if I'm not at the council meeting, I watch the council meetings on YouTube. So I do pay attention to everything. And so I was well aware that there is a challenge as to the validity of Mr. Nushai and his seat on this council. I'm well aware of that. As a result, I do believe that we need an opinion as to the validity of his seat, as to what his position is. I don't know this. This is going deeper than what I know right now. All I know is this was raised as an issue, and I don't see how we can move forward and deliberate. And this is no offense to you, Mr. Nushai.
Absolutely not.
All. This
I agree
is
with you
just,
100%.
I just don't see how we can go ahead and deliberate this matter specifically with that.
Absolutely.
And that raises that issue.
Absolutely.
The next thing is I would generally ask for, I will admit I am not an expert as to Robert's rules in this city. I know a fair amount of it, but I'm not an expert. This complaint delves specifically into that. And so I was hoping to get an overview from the city attorney as to the Robert's rules specifically. We just got the official complaint. If you guys know or don't know, we had an old form. We voted and modified the form that had to be filled out and submitted. And so, but through some, I'm not sure why it didn't get posted properly online. So the complainant filled out the old form, even though we had basically invalidated the old form. And so we needed the new form filled out. The new form was filled out, but that was just submitted to us. I think I got it today. This afternoon. So there really hasn't been a whole lot of time given on this matter. But as an outside matter, I don't know how we can continue to deliberate this matter right now with at least the couple big points that I raised, because that is 2 of the 5 members of this board that I think we need to verify whether or not we have an ability or we have the authority to actually sit here and render an opinion and deliberate on this matter. And again, no offense to you, Mr. Nushai, I don't want you to poison any type of well with deliberations if you are not in a valid seat. Just as those who know me know I am very long-winded, and I do not want to poison the well with any deliberations if I am ultimately forced to recuse myself. And so at this time, I would request that we actually adjourn this meeting until we can get a clear answer as to those matters. It'll also do the secondary step of allowing Mayor Milan to, if you'd like to submit any type of statements in response, you can do so. You're not required to do so. I know the last complaint somebody did, you are not required to do so. we basically can go right off of there, and we can let you speak and go from that point. But it'll also speak to Mr. Harris' concern that not enough time was given for people to even know about today's meeting in general. Like I said, we are still a new board, even though we've been around for a year now. We're new because thankfully we have not been used consistently in this city. And so therefore, normally it takes a little bit of a learning curve for us to figure out exactly how to operate, because this board did not exist before in any type of notion. So at this point, at least as to new business, I would like to make a motion to adjourn addressing and deliberating the new business until we can get an answer as to, one, if there's a conflict of interest as to me on the board, and then two, a legal opinion as to the validity of the seat of Mr. Nushai, and also as to an overview as to the Roberts rules. It's in the charter.
Sure, yes, we'd be happy, sorry, stuck in my throat tonight. We'd be happy to provide opinion on those 3 items. And as to the seat of Mr. Nushai, I do believe, I understand people have read the ordinance, but I believe that might be a more complicated legal matter than that, so we'd be happy to provide the citations.
Good, I would like to see citations if possible as to everything. So again, that's me being a little nitpicky, but if you have them, I'd like to see them so that I can look at it myself as well. And so I make that motion.
Do you have a date in mind to reconvene? Would we like to discuss that now?
Yes, I would like to discuss that now, because that makes it,
Can combine that all together, so we're adjourning until, boom.
when are you back from your trip?
I will be back on the 10th, so like the 13th would be my first available, which is of March.
Of March.
Yep. So that's in 2 weeks.
So March 13th, I would propose we do that. We then move it to March 13th instead of the 6th. And the only reason I say that is because if the opinions come back that I have to recuse myself, and Mr. Nushai is not on the board and you're not here, then we run into an issue where there's not even a quorum to deliberate. And so it'll just end up people reconvening to only potentially move it 1 more week again. And that should hopefully give everybody enough time to know and be here.
So we have a motion on the floor to adjourn till March 13th at 7 o'clock.
That is correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any debate?
No, I just, one point of clarification. August, what's the quorum as it exists in the bylaws?
It'll be 3 of 5. You have to have that majority.
Yeah.
Will we all receive the information that you asked for? Will that be given
Absolutely.
to all of
Yeah,
us?
that has to
Absolutely.
come to everybody.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
I'll
if
make
it's,
sure.
if it's possible, can we please get that information? Today's the 27th, that's the 6th, the 13th, at least by like the 9th?
Yes.
Give us a few
no problem.
days and give me the weekend to look at it, and,
Me too, because I'll be out of the country, so I can have that weekend to review everything.
Sure.
Something to read on the plane.
Absolutely.
and all the information that's provided, just to be clear, that stuff, it's all part of our packet.
Yes,
correct?
absolutely. It'll all be
So that'll all
public.
be
Yes.
published so that everybody else has a chance to read it as well, and they can see what the opinions are at the same time that we're essentially seeing them.
Absolutely. It'll go up in the packet. Mhm.
Okay.
So we have a second?
Yeah.
I second that, so should we?
But, okay, so say call the roll.
Yeah, can we please call for a vote?
Sure.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fenton,
Yes.
Commissioner McCullough,
Yes.
Commissioner McGinnis,
Yes.
Commissioner Nishai,
Yes.
Commissioner Traxel.
Yes.
So we are adjourned until March 13th at 7 PM.
For the new business, let's go through the rest of the,
You adjourn the meeting.
did I adjourn the meeting? I thought I adjourned new business.
You don't adjourn new business, you just finish new business. You
Okay,
adjourn the meeting.
Then we're good to go. I don't get to make more comments? You
You wanna reopen the meeting, you can.
Comments? No, I think I've spoken enough.
The only time the word adjourn is used is when you're done.
That's That's right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. I appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll see you on the 13th.